Good afternoon. This is Dan Leonard of the PG&E Retirement Show, and today we're going to talk about ways to maximize your earnings record and some claiming decisions for Social Security. And I'm going to take a break from the Social Security subject for the next few weeks after that, but we'll be right back, and thank you for tuning in. Hi, and welcome to the PG&E Retirement Show. As you know, every week, Tuesday at 2:30, we go live. Trying a new broadcast system here this week, so hopefully it's coming through okay. But again, please feel free to log in each week at 2:30 to catch a show live here on Facebook, or check our YouTube page later in the week, and we have all the previous videos on the YouTube page. So I want to talk to you today about maximizing your earnings record and claiming decisions. Now, these are pretty straightforward, but it does sometimes take some of the kind of flash of the obvious to help people kind of put it into context. So how do you maximize your earnings record? Well, Social Security is your 35 highest years of earnings. So one way to do that is to work longer, right? The more years you have, the more years that you have to choose from. And what happens is, since they do from basically when you start working till age 62, your calculation on the averaged index monthly earnings, if you're considering retiring early, you may wind up, if you work just one more year, replacing a zero or a low earnings year with a higher number, which helps raise it up, but not by a ton, because when you think about it, you're getting rid of 1 year, you're adding a new year, and really those are the only 2 years that are going to change, and that's 1/35 of the calculation. But if for some reason you had several years out of the workforce, then by replacing a zero, it does help. Earning more, again, early on you might have had a very low income, which, even though it's indexed, is a small percentage of the overall number. And if your later years, like most people, are your peak earning years, those years also raise your earnings. So again, by working longer and earning more, you are helping to increase your earnings record. The other way that you can basically increase your payments is by deferring your benefits or delaying your benefits, because even though it's 62 you can start to claim, the longer you wait, the higher that payment's going to be, because shorter life expectancy, so the calculation is adjusted for your life expectancy. You get either less of a penalty between 62 and full retirement age, or delayed retirement credits if you collect between your full retirement age and age 70. Now, there's no reason to delay past age 70, because once you get to age 70, if you miss a payment, there's no way to really make that back up. So those are some thoughts on how to increase your earnings record. The claiming decisions, there's a lot of them, and there's a lot of variables, and everybody's situation is somewhat unique. So there's one, your health, right? Some people are forced to stop working and they need the income. So the first two are your health and the need for the money, right? If you're just, if you're just not excited about work anymore, let's say, and you say, I don't want to go to work, and I'm going to claim Social Security, well, that's a choice, but maybe not the one that's going to give you the best potential to maximize your benefits. If you have a physical ailment where you can't go to work and the only way you can afford to live is by taking Social Security early, well, then the decision made. The other thing to consider, though, is life expectancy. And not just your own life expectancy, if you're married, your spouse's, or the survivor's life expectancy. So life expectancy is pretty straightforward. It's how long you expect to live. If you think you're going to die in your 70s or early 80s because there's a family history, then you may want to claim earlier. But if everybody in your family lived to, their late 90s, the numbers show that waiting will get you the most money from Social Security. So it becomes, do I want the most money possible, or do I want to regain years earlier in my life where I can go do other things? And that, again, boils down to your financial resources. If you've got plenty of extra assets and waiting on Social Security means you're going to die with a bigger bank account, well, then that's a decision on what you want to leave for your heirs. But if it's a, I think I could run out of money decision, then waiting is probably a good idea, or at least something to seriously consider. But the other part of that is survivor benefits. If you have two spouses that have very similar earnings records, it doesn't really make a difference, because if you get $2,000 a month and your spouse gets $2,000 a month, when you pass, yours will go away and your spouse will continue to get $2,000 a month. But if you get $3,000 and your spouse gets $1,000, when you pass, your spouse is going to get the difference between their payment and your payment as a survivor benefit. So the higher benefit sticks around, and really the spouse would lose the lower amount. So in the example where you had 2,000 and 2,000 and 2,000 goes away, if you have 3,000 and 1,000, the 3,000 stays, the 1,000 goes away. So that's a real difference to your spouse, that they're going to continue to get that 3,000. So claiming decision on the higher wage earning spouse might be delayed as long as you can, because that's the benefit that both spouses will collect on for the remainder of their lives, no matter who lives longer. Obviously, while they're both alive, you're going to get both, but Social Security will not send two checks to a house where only one person lives. And then the final one is your future work. So if you're at the point where you're approaching 62, if you're not going to retire and you're considering working between now and your full retirement age, you may want to consider deferring your Social Security, because if you collect at 62, there's a reduction based on your earnings. And unless you're going to have just a very small part-time job where you're going to earn very little income, your earnings basically get withheld. Now, you do get them back at a later point, but you don't get them back in a lump sum. They just take that money, layer it on your payment, and it increases your payment that you'll get back over your remaining life expectancy. So you might be better off just deferring those payments and continuing to work and not collecting. Now, if you're close to your full retirement age and you hit full retirement age and you want to collect your Social Security, that's a different story, because at full retirement age, you can collect your benefit and not have that penalty. Now, people will say, hey, I'm going to take that money and I'm going to go invest it someplace else, and I'm going to get a better return than I would if I just kept it at Social Security. And while it will give you a lump sum that you would have available, you have to beat an 8% bar, because the delayed retirement credits on Social Security are 2/3 of 1% every month you defer. So 12 months at 2/3 of 1% a month winds up being an 8% return that is guaranteed by the government. So if you take that money and you go invest it, you can certainly do that. There is the possibility that it's taxed if you're working, and more than likely it would be. So you have to take that into effect, and then you have the risk of what could you get as far as a return on that money. So there's no definitive this is the right answer, unless you want to say what is the biggest opportunity to get the biggest pile of money. And to get that answer, you need to know when you're going to die. But in short, if you think you're going to live into your basically past age 83, delaying will get you the most money from Social Security over your lifetime. But again, I don't necessarily think that's the correct answer for everybody, because some people won't live into their 80s, and that's a decision that has to be worked out kind of individual by individual through having a conversation and having a plan on where your income would come from. So that's it for this week. Again, I'm Dan Leonard with Marathon Retirement Planning. I can be reached in my office at 925-726-4015 or at dan@mrppfg.com. So that's our show for this week. Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully the new format worked okay. I'm going to work on getting some of the lower thirds where we can have names and other stuff up on the screen. But hope you liked it, and thanks for your time.